Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Recruiter podcast. I'm Sam Bylett and today I'm joined by Diane Prince, founder at dianeprince.co. Diane, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sam. Great to see you.
Great to have you here. So Diane, to kick us off, can you give everyone a quick overview of what you do and who you typically help for your platform?
Yes. So I have built a few staffing agencies, one that I sold for $28 million. And now I help recruiting and staffing agency founders to scale.
Amazing. And you've got a fascinating background building, scaling and selling companies. What first got you into recruitment and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So unlike a lot of people who say that who just fell into staffing, I didn't. I actually was super intentional because I set out to build a business that I could scale and exit. And I did it with my then husband. And that was our goal. So we started with that vision. And then from there, we arrived at let's start a staffing agency for title insurance, which is a super specific niche here in the US that doesn't even exist in other parts of the country, or I mean, other parts of the world. So it was really like that's how we arrived at staffing, is because it's a great business model. To the more that people you have out working, the more you can grow. And then it's an exitable business. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, that is the first time I've heard that. Everyone always says you're the first one. I fell into it. Right. Congrats on that.
Super intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. You call yourself a founder and startup matchmaker, which is a super unique title. What does that actually look like in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so I do help people. So my vision is to make entrepreneurship easier for everyone who wants to start a company. And I do that through both executive coaching and also I have a virtual assistant staffing agency now. So what I do is I match offshore. And when I say virtual assistant, I mean any kind of virtual talent. Like we have AI automation engineers, we have sourcers, talent sourcers, and we have traditional virtual assistants who do admin work and calendaring and email management. So that's what I do is I staffing and recruiting agencies and other small businesses as well with virtual assistant teams.
And yeah, founders talk a lot about how hard it is to hire at scale. How does your approach help them avoid the usual roadblocks?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. So what we do is we help, well, one, we find the people, right? And then so I think we have the only virtual assistant agency where the VAs get also strategic guidance from an exited founder, me. So that's something different that we do. And then we replace anybody who doesn't work out. We cross train the team so that our clients never have downtime. So basically it's a way for smaller businesses to compete with people have said that our support is like enterprise level support. So really just such a fraction of the price, you can get a really good team offshore that if you got, and I know at US or England or, that you could get, or UK. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Sounds like a great deal. Yes, let's touch on say client acquisition now. It's such a big hurdle for founders and consultants. How have you gone about winning business in a space that's super competitive?
Yeah. And I love that. I'm excited to answer this question because for consultants, so what I've done is, well, first I started out pretty general because I started my consulting business as like, okay, I'm gonna business coach. I don't know exactly what it looks like. And I worked with all kinds of founders, even like startup founders, tech, clothing shop owners. So every kind of business owner really. And then even though I talk about niche all the time. So then once I just decided to totally niche, everything changed. Things got so much easier, obviously. And I used to get my clients through cold email outreach, which still does work for me. I'm pretty good at that. But now I'm getting most of my clients through incoming leads. So getting what I do in my so I was always a sales machine and now it's reverse. Like I'm super into marketing. So it's content, and in my content I help people with their struggles. So I answer questions, I solve my ideal clients' problems in my content, and that has shifted everything. So now I get incoming leads.
Yeah, I love your content. I always follow your content and your newsletters and everything. So yeah, you're kind of everywhere. Before I met you, I felt like I kind of knew you already. So that's the whole idea, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I always kind of felt like marketing was for other people. I was
Yeah,
like, "I do sales, marketing," and then once I really embraced it, I was like, "Wow, this is a game changer." So, yeah, and consulting is competitive, and a lot of content that I see, like, okay, it just could be tweaked even a little bit in an easy and it's easier to create content that way when you're solving your ideal client's problems.
yeah, for sure. It's something that I push with my clients so much now. That content is king, and yeah, everyone should be doing it for sure.
Yeah.
What's helped you build trust quickly with new clients? And if you had to start over, is there anything else you do differently?
Yeah, I mean, what helps us build trust is really communicating. Things are not always gonna be perfect. So of course, we try to perform, in an excellent way with attention to detail. Sometimes it doesn't. We're in the people business, right? So I think building trust, like one of the most important things, is open communication, owning when something doesn't go right, being able to problem solve, just like in any relationship. That really helps to build trust. So we're not going to be perfect. We're going to be as we want to provide excellence, but it's that communication, I think, that really builds trust. And being there, like showing up, also part of the sales process too, is consistency in the sales process and nurturing your leads, because that shows people too, like the way that you show up in your sales funnel is also teaching people how you're going to show up when you work with them. So consistency is really important.
Yeah, totally agree. And yeah, go back to the content as well. That's another kind of a trust and thing that helps for sure. And on more of the tech front, how are you seeing technology influence how founders approach hiring today?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously AI is like, the big topic. So technology, I mean, it's interesting because I've been in this industry for 30 years. So at the beginning, it was like when I first got in, I mean, it was like email was just starting.
Yeah,
So it was like then that was the big conversation. And then it was LinkedIn and nobody wanted their employees to be on LinkedIn. They were really threatened by LinkedIn. And now it's really where we do everything. So, I mean, I think like no one has a crystal ball and everyone has an opinion on AI and tech. What I see is really important is there's a new role that is an AI engineer, an automation engineer. So whether if you're just a one person solopreneur, you can get fractional people, but really it's almost like there's so many tools that can be really overwhelming. So I recommend like trying to keep it simple and then also engage with somebody who can do that and take that on and make sure that you have the right tech and that it's maintained.
yeah. There's like a new tool every day, isn't there? That just pops out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, that looks amazing. I've got to use that. And then there's another one that comes across the next day. It's like, it's very overwhelming. And yeah,
Yeah.
I struggle to keep up myself with it all.
Yeah, and most entrepreneurs have shiny new object
Yeah.
syndrome anyway, and this is just like
Yeah.
feeding that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an absolute nightmare for us. Yeah. So some folks worry, don't they, that AI might replace recruiters. What's your take on that? And
Now,
how do you think AI and human instinct should work together?
I really think that we just cannot predict, and if robots take over everything, I mean, we have no control over it. At least
Mhm.
I don't have control over it. So what I find is important in being in my age and like being in the industry a long time is just staying relevant and evolving. And I think like for me, having the old school experience combined with keeping up with tech and AI is just a great recipe. So I don't know, and nobody knows. Honestly, nobody knows my knowledge unless we are in a simulation.
Yeah, yeah. That's another
I think
story.
nobody really knows. But yeah, I really try to just control what I can. I try.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of view. Yeah, I do the same. Yeah, let's not worry about something that's not happened yet, right? I think I think we'll be okay. I'm pretty sure we will.
At least for a while.
Yeah, at least for a while. We've got a couple of years, maybe.
Right.
You said there before that one great hire can completely change a company's future. What do you look for in a candidate that you think maybe resumes and data often miss?
Yeah, I think it depends on the role. So like for example, if I'm hiring someone that is any kind of commission based, like if it's recruiter or account executive, they've got to be money motivated. So that's important. I think another thing is I like to hire based on personality and core value fit versus years of experience. I have just seen so many recruiting hires that don't work out. And then founders can be like, it's almost like a gaslighting situation because they're like, wow, they had all this at that company and now they're not doing it here. So I really look at like, instead of trying to fit somebody into like 5 years experience box, I also, in my agencies, I typically hire people who have done the job versus people who have recruited. So like even for my VA agency, our salesperson, he is also a virtual assistant and he's a client manager. And so now he's our lead sales rep. So he's great because he doesn't have any experience in sales, but he's done the work. I think that's a huge recipe for success.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And obviously, the startup world is shifting fast. What trends are you paying attention to in the founder and talent space?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the trends are how to build. Now you can, a lot of my story is when I built my agency that I sold for $28 million, a lot of it was the team. The team is so important. But today it's so much easier and accessible. And that's why I have a team, which is my virtual assistant agency, because you can build a team offshore and you can have excellent, you can have this excellent. So that trend is, that's what I've been really picking up on and like building in remote ways, which is so different. And then you also have to adapt to the fact that the people are not in the same room as you. So one thing that I really advocate for is managing based on metrics and outputs versus hours, because I mean, honestly, you can't control that. I mean, it seems like almost everybody has a side hustle now, and it's very different. There's just with the remote world, it's just very different, and it's a different way to manage. So you can do it a lot more effectively, though. It's just having to adapt to that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And how have you seen the relationship between founders and talent change over the past few years?
Well, it's that, I'll hear from founders, all of my employees have side hustles or they don't know what and they're speaking about like remote. And it is harder to recruit people to work in person. And I respect when businesses do want to be in person. I think that works for a
Yeah,
lot of companies. So you really kind of have to decide where you want to be on that. But it's just a very different way to manage because especially when you're in a startup, everybody has to be going in the same direction. For me, one of the things that was so important in recruiting that I realized after the fact is that everybody in my businesses I wanted to know what their personal vision was, like what they wanted to get out of it. And so you want to make sure that all your key players they can satisfy their personal vision through your company. And that's going to keep them there and not, really above anything else.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And obviously, you're more than a recruiter. You're a strategist and a coach. How do you juggle those roles with your clients?
Yeah, well, I don't do the recruiting. I'm actually not I don't really like recruiting. I
Well,
haven't recruited in a long time. So I so my team recruits and the way I balance it is honestly is through virtual assistants because my goal in this iteration of my career and my business was to create a business where my main role is to articulate my vision and do the things I love to do like this. Like I love having these conversations. And so that's how I balance it is I have a wonderful team
yeah,
and they also tell me what I need to do. So they project manage me. When I get up in the morning, first of all, I know I can look at they manage my inbox, so I know anyone I have to reply to. They reply most of the time, they're the ones that reply, but they tell me if they need me to step in, and then I'll be like, "What do I need to do today?" And I just look at my tasks because they create them for me.
yeah. I need your team. Absolutely, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So for any kind of founder who's listening who feels like their hiring is slowing them down, what's the first thing you do to help them fix that?
So let's have a conversation. I mean, one thing, you always need to be hiring and you have to have a system for hiring. There was some Harvard study that said that, I think it was Harvard, that was most interview processes are basically it would have the same success rate if you just like randomly hired someone off the street and didn't even interview them. Having a systematized interview process, it's still not going to be perfect, but having a systemized interview process is a total game changer.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, you've clearly got a big vision, as you've been saying, for what you're building. What is next for your business?
Well, I've started doing, speaking engagement. This has been really fun for me. I don't know if you know this, but I did a stand-up comedy set at the
Oh, really?
staffing sale, which was so fun. And, I'm gonna be the keynote speaker at the Colorado Staffing Association this summer. I love public speaking. It's something I've never really like, I haven't done that much. I've done it on Zoom and stuff. So that's for me personally, that's it's been a huge goal and I love it. So that's one thing. And then building out the A team, really it's built to scale. So just providing, we keep on going with that and adding virtual assistants and adding people to the team. And that's so fun too. And working with the VAs, because I also do office hours with them and I provide strategic guidance to the virtual talent that we're placing. So so really focusing on those two things.
Yeah. Is there any new projects or partnerships or anything exciting apart from that on the horizon we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I am writing a book. The book is at the editor right now. So that's coming out.
Wow. Writing a book, stand-up comedy. You can do it all. Love it. Brilliant. Great stuff. Oh, it's been brilliant. I really enjoyed this conversation. So for our listeners, where can they find out a bit more about yourself and about your business?
Yeah, well, LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me, and also my website, dianeprince.co. And there's all the information on there and all the services that we provide. But you can always DM me on LinkedIn. If you Google me, if you Google me, you will find Diane Prince. You will also see Princess Diana and
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's name is Diana Prince. I am the
Yeah.
one. I am the one that is neither a princess nor a superhero.
Right. Got you. That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It's been a great conversation. And yeah, hopefully talk to you soon.
Okay, Sam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.